every world-changing invention, and every powerful empire, there is one simple thing. An idea. A powerful idea. In Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill discovered something fascinating. A burning desire, relentless persistence, and a definite purpose. Thoughts are not just thoughts. When they are backed by desire, focused by purpose, and fueled by persistence, they turn into reality. Every great achievement begins the same way. One person, one idea, and the decision to never let it go. This is where our journey begins.
All right, let's dive into one of the most legendary books on success ever written, Napoleon Hill's classic, Think and Grow Rich. For decades, this book has claimed to hold a powerful, life-changing secret for achieving any goal. So today, we're going to unpack it and see if we can find that secret together. So right out of the gate, Hill doesn't just hand you the answer. Nope, he throws down a challenge. He says this incredible secret is woven throughout the entire book, hiding in plain sight, but it will only reveal itself if your mind is actually ready to see it. Pretty intriguing, right?
And you got to understand, this wasn't just some random idea he had. This whole thing was born from a massive undertaking. We're talking about Andrew Carnegie, one of the wealthiest men in history, who challenged a young Napoleon Hill to dedicate 20 years of his life to studying America's most successful people to find that one common philosophy that built all their fortunes. And who did he study? Well, the list is basically a who's who of American titans. You've got Henry Ford, the guy who changed manufacturing forever, Thomas Edison, the genius inventor. Hill interviewed and analyzed hundreds of them, and he came to a pretty shocking conclusion. Every single one of them, whether they realized it or not, was using this exact same Carnegie secret.
So that just makes you wonder, right? If there's a secret this powerful, where in the world do you even start? Well, according to Hill, it doesn't begin with your skills, or your money, or your connections. It starts with something much deeper, something right inside your own mind.
He kicks things off with the story of a guy named Edwin C. Barnes. Now, this man started with absolutely nothing. No money, no influence, but he had one thing in massive supply, a powerful, all-consuming desire.
And what's so important here is how specific his goal was. See, Barnes didn't just want a job with the famous Thomas Edison. He had a crystal clear objective. He was going to become Edison's business partner. He wanted to work with him, not for him. That little detail is absolutely crucial.
I mean, just think about this level of commitment for a second. Barnes was flat broke. He literally couldn't even afford a train ticket to go meet Edison, but he got there anyway. And more importantly, in his own mind, he'd already cut off any possibility of retreat. He burned all bridges behind him, basically giving himself no choice but to succeed. Failure just wasn't an option.
So here's the key takeaway. His desire wasn't some flimsy wish. It wasn't a hope. Hill calls it a keen, pulsating desire, which transcended everything else. He took a low-level job in Edison's office for months just to be in the building, holding on to that one single obsession until his moment finally came. And it did. He eventually landed a contract to market the new Edison dictating machine, and their slogan became, "Made by Edison and installed by Barnes." He actually did it. And there it is. That's the first huge piece of the puzzle, a burning desire. Not just something you kinda want, but a definite, all-consuming obsession that you are willing to bet your entire future on. For Hill, this is the absolute starting point of any great achievement. Okay, so you've got this fire in your belly, but that desire is just the launch pad. It's essential, for sure, but it's not the whole story. What happens when you run smack into a wall? Well, another incredible story from the book gives us the answer. 3 feet. That's it. That's how close a man named R.U. Darby was to one of the biggest gold strikes in Colorado. 3 feet away from a fortune. And he stopped. So Darby and his uncle,
They actually hit gold. But then the vein just disappeared. They got frustrated, gave up, and sold all their equipment to a junk man for a few $100. Well, that junk man was smart. He hired an engineer who figured out the vein was only 3 feet from where they had stopped drilling. The junk man made millions. But here's the amazing part. Darby took that crushing failure and turned it into his superpower. He learned the lesson of stickability, as he called it, applied that persistence to selling life insurance, and became a millionaire himself. And you know what? Darby's story isn't a one-off. Hill found this pattern over and over again. Temporary defeat is not permanent failure. So often, it's just life testing you to see if you're really serious. The greatest successes are usually hiding just on the other side of the moment you feel most like quitting. All right, so we've got a burning desire and we've got the persistence to keep going when things get tough. But you can't just wander around hoping for the best, right? You need a map. You need a practical, definite plan, a blueprint.
Henry Ford is the perfect example of this. When he decided he was going to build his famous V8 engine, he wanted the whole engine block cast as one single piece. His own expert engineers told him, "No way, it's impossible." But Ford's decision was made. His instruction wasn't try to do it or see if you can do it. It was simply produce it anyway. And you know what? Eventually, they did. His plan was built on a definite decision, not on obstacle.
Hill really lays out the whole process for us. It all starts by preparing the way with that burning desire. That's the fuel for the whole journey. Then you create the idea, mix it with unwavering faith that it's possible, build a definite plan to make it happen, put that plan into motion, and then you follow through with that unstoppable persistence. This is the exact formula he saw used to create enormous companies like U.S. Steel.
Okay, we've looked at the core components: desire, persistence, and a solid plan. Now it's time to put it all together and finally answer the big question that Napoleon Hill dangles in front of us from the very first page of the book. After all this, after studying hundreds of the most successful people on the planet, what is it? What's the one unifying idea that was behind all these incredible fortunes?
And here's the big reveal. The secret isn't a magic password. It's not one little piece of information that you learn and then poof, everything changes. The secret is not something you know. It's something you do. It's a whole method of operating.
The secret is the formula itself. It's about taking all these principles and consciously applying them together, making them work in sync. You have to have a burning desire for a very specific goal. You have to back it with total faith that you can do it. You have to guide it with a definite plan, and you have to fuel it with persistence no matter how many times you get knocked down. That is the secret. It's the recipe for turning a thought in your head into a real thing in your hands.
This quote just nails the mindset that powers the whole formula. It's about radical ownership. When you succeed, you don't have to explain anything. And when you fail, you don't make excuses. You learn from it, you make a new plan, and you get back to work. Hill wrote that during the Great Depression. But honestly, that message is timeless. Every single challenge, every time of massive change brings with it a massive opportunity. So now that you have the formula, the real question isn't what the secret is anymore. The real question is, what's the burning desire that you are going to pursue? What opportunity will you seize?